Hi, it's your favourite Atomic Blonde here with my Sunday lunch. Hello, blondies. Happy Easter for those that celebrate, or just happy Easter if you just enjoy having the bank holidays. Hope you're going easy on that chocolate. Thankfully, I don't have a sweet tooth, so don't have to worry about that so much. Probably a fairly shortish, medium length Sunday lunch. As I said, I've got plans this weekend, hence recording. So it's whiz through with some of the updates, what's going on in pop culture, and let me know what you think. So let's go. First up, we have Rabbit Hole. So yeah, I first two episodes dropped last week, which I really enjoyed. Say, very interesting premise. Love Kiefer Sutherland anyway. Most of his stuff's pretty decent. And obviously loved him in 24 back in the day. So this week's episode is a mixture of kind of what's currently happening. He's on the run. We found out last week that even though we saw his dad, or we thought we saw his dad commit suicide, he is actually alive, and played fantastically by Charles Dance. So this week's a mixture of that story continuing, but we're also seeing some flashbacks as to Kiefer setting up his company with his best friend, and it goes sort of right back to when he's at school. And we see that obviously Kiefer Sutherland's character has mental health issues. He seems to have panic attacks, and this is all kind of stemming from obviously seeing something very traumatic happen to his father. So we sort of see him at school. He's at boarding school, and this is where he meets his best friend. And his best friend's really good at maths and sort of code cracking and all those kind of things. And we see their friendship evolve. And at the sort of family home where his father died, there is his safe, and he's desperate to get into this safe because he thinks if he can get into the safe, there'll be some answers as to why his father did it. And as the episode goes on, you see him becoming friends with this kid, and he helps him crack the safe code, which turns out to be a numerical representation of his name, John. So even when they eventually get into the safe, there's nothing really in there, or as kids, they don't really see anything in there that would indicate why he did what he did. But the sheer fact that the combination to his safe was John, his friend sort of says, well, that clearly shows, that you meant the world to him. We see them sort of leaving school and then forming their company and what they do. And obviously his best friend is the guy we saw throw himself off who looks like has set him up for this murder and throws himself off the building. So we see how tight-knit they were, how he looked out for Kiefer, so with his sort of panic attacks and things like that. And also saying there's safety in numbers. So it's like, think about numbers and number puzzles. And this helps sort of calm him down when he's like having anxiety. So, it's really even more intriguing now that, they're clearly as thick as thieves, as close as like brothers. And we see like when Charles Dance sort of walks back into Kiefer's life, and obviously he's spiraling. He thinks he saw his dad delete himself. Initially, he's not even sure if it is his dad, but obviously they have some very limited relationship, and obviously he tells his best friend. He's like, whoa. So we see things sort of playing out. Obviously they've still got the guy hostage who he's been framed for killing, and they're sort of trying to get him to this bit like why would somebody want you dead, or why would somebody pretend that you're dead? Who's after you? What is it you do? And he's just basically not giving up any information. Following getting the encryption key, we see his character sort of trying to guess the password and hack into his account. And obviously they're company, they are watching this. They can see, and like the sort of CIA or FBI, whoever it is, can see that someone's trying to get into the account. He only has 5 attempts, and obviously he'll be locked out. And he eventually is able, because the clue to the password is safety in numbers, their thing. So he's able to figure out what the code is, gets into the account, downloads what they need, and then obviously they have to. Then they're tracking this, so they have to go. It's quite a bit. They leave the house, and they've got this poor guy who's still like blindfolded and tied up. And they just take him out and sort of bundle him into this car, and like nobody sees. I mean, they kind of in this like suburban place, but like nobody sees. And then the girl they've got with them, who he had the one night stand with, we see her on her phone in the garden, and she's like looking to she's got like in some sort of Bitcoin account, and there's like something like $23 million in it or something, and she's trying to transfer that. So she's clearly into something shady. Whether it's all connected to this, we don't know. And there's a great scene with Charles Dance and her in the garden. And he's sort of like, as a psychologist, like before he became sort of a spy. And, you know, he's saying, you know, I can just look people in the eye, and they can say one sentence. I can ask them one question, and I know whether they're lying or not. And she's like absolutely bricking herself. He's going to like kill her. So, yeah, she's got something to hide, but whether it's connected, we don't know yet. But the build up of this show I'm really enjoying. It's again sort of drip feeding in really, and the thing is they're taking time to do the character development for us to understand the relationships and the dynamics of what's gone on in the past, and how it's so jarring that his friend would potentially set him up like this. You know, there's got to be something much bigger going on. So 3 episodes in, so far so good. Next episode, I think it drops on a Sunday night in the States and Monday in the UK on Paramount. So yeah, if you're into sort of spy, espionage, puzzle solving, whodunits, this is right up your street. So go check out Rabbit Hole. So yeah, so it's quite a few interesting things going on this week. Not my cup of tea. I mean, I won't go see this, but I'm absolutely stoked that it's doing so well. I just really want to talk more about the kind of almost like vitriol from the mainstream media on this. So Mario movie continues to smash global box office records in opening weekend. Yeah, so, you know, it's absolutely sort of trounced any animated film that's come out from Disney or anybody else, or Pixar, Disney Pixar. It's absolutely raking in the cash, which is great. I think it says here, you know, yeah, Mexico, higher ticket sales than any full opening weekend of any April animation within the country. UK and Ireland, biggest Thursday box office for any animated title ever, and second biggest for a Universal title. China done 5.3 million on Thursday, etc., etc. So no matter where it is around the world, this film is absolutely knocking it out the park. And I saw one headline today on Twitter. A friend of mine had sort of posted it up. Just that they were just the mainstream media is going, oh, this is just made for fans. It's disgusting. You're like, well, isn't that the point? And this just shows up, I think, everything that's wrong with movies right now. That if you make something that's good, that the fans want, somehow this is the worst thing that you could possibly do as a studio. Like, make something that the fans are actually gonna enjoy and they want. And I don't see anything wrong. I mean, like, say Super Mario, I've never played the game. I've never really had much interest in Super Mario. So yeah, I wouldn't bother going to film. And if I did go to the film, if somebody wanted to go see it, and I go, yeah, I'll come along. I won't sit there and go, well, that was rubbish. I didn't understand anything that's going on, because it's all about Super Mario. I mean, clues in the title. It's all about Super Mario. And I just hate the fact that the mainstream media just begrudges so much that a studio would have the audacity to make a film that's faithful. I mean, I'm assuming it's because it's very faithful to the, what little story there is in Super Mario, Rescuing Peaches, I think it is. And there's enough sort of fan service in there that they can recognize the characters on the screen, that it's fun, and kids love it. And that's the point of a family film. There's no message in there. It's just, start to finish, here's Super Mario on the big screen. So I'm like, kudos. And also what I love is it just blows this whole rhetoric that Disney like churning out that, people just don't want to go to theatre anymore. People just got out the habit of going to the cinema. Top Gun Maverick. Sorry to keep banging on about it. But No Way Home. John Wick 4. Now Super Mario. All very different types of films. So it's not like people are turning up for one type of film, but it just proves if you make something that people want to go see, who defunct it? They'll go see it. Absolutely amazing, huh? Unbelievable. So yeah, the continued narrative is just from like Disney is absolutely, just now. It's like, yeah, it's you make good films that are fun, that are entertaining, good characters. As it says in Field of Dreams, if you build it, he will come, or they will come. Not hard, is it? It's really not hard. So talking of absolutely streamless, yeah. If you build it, they will come. Picard, season 3, episode 8. As always, you can find my full detailed review on my channel. But yeah, I can't skip over it. I have to say what is going on, but say for the full review, yeah, go check that out. So as I said, yeah, last week 7 was definitely the weakest we've had so far. It was still a good episode, completely watchable. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't par that we have seen so far. And I think this episode definitely kicks it up a level and sort of takes us back. You can definitely feel it's building to the last 2 episodes. Yeah, and as you'll see from my review, I was not happy with the cliffhanger. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a brilliant cliffhanger, but boy, am I peed. I don't know what's behind that bloody red door. I was on, as I said, I've been watching TNG, I've been watching DS9, trying to figure this out. I'm thinking, it seems to be pointing towards the Romulans, or the Borg, or both. But for me, that's just like way too obvious, right? It can't be the Romulans. Because there was an exchange between Jack and Vadic talking about ears. I know that sounds weird on its own. You need the context, but and I'm like, ears can't be Romulans, surely. But anyway, I don't know, and I cannot wait to find out. So obviously, we left off episode 7 with Vadic taking over the ship. To get to Jack, we sort of this continues, and it starts off with basically the changelings like rounding up the crew and just killing the crew, and you can hear obviously like over the intercom the screams of people being shot, and Vadic's just like music to her ears. She's literally going like she's composing a symphony. And the bridge crew are just horrified by it. It just, absolutely just shows her complete disdain for humans and solids. That, she just has no qualms about killing us at all. And the bridge crew are now hostages. she makes an announcement to Jack that he's got like 10 minutes to get to the bridge, and if he doesn't, they're going to start killing the people on the bridge. For every sort of 10 minutes, they're going to kill someone. So Beverly and Picard are like, absolutely not. You can't give yourself up. If you give yourself up, they'll just kill everybody anyway. We have to think of something else. Obviously, they're trying to hack into the computer system to try and get controls back. And they kind of come up with a plan. We then see Riker and Troy on the Shake ship. And they're talking about their sort of lives together. And Troy says to him, like, "Oh, you've changed. I can feel that you've changed." And he sort of explains around when they're in the nebula and how he felt complete despair. But when they came out the other side of it and the new creature was born, he sort of, had hope again. She talks about how she knew from the get-go that the changeling that come and got her wasn't him. And there's a little bit of a joke about, he was just like you, good in bed, but terrible at making pizza. Some people actually took this that Troy slept with the changeling, which she didn't, because she said, "I knew it wasn't you from the get-go." It's called a joke. So it's some lovely interactions, but we find out why obviously it was more than just the sort of grief that Riker left, because she says, like, "Oh, you just couldn't wait to get out the door when Picard phoned or contacted him." And Riker sort of says, I was grieving, and I needed that grief. It was the last connection I had to Dad, and you took it away. Because the base said, she was like, that I never wanted to do that. I was just trying to help carry the grief. She goes, I was losing you to the grief. You were just gone, and I just wanted to help you through it. I never sort of intended to rob you of it. And she says, like, as a counselor, I forgot the number one rule is that you can't skip to the end. You've got to process, what you're going through. And they hug, and hopefully this sort of gets them on a path to get back together. Meanwhile, on the Titan, they're discussing Picard and Jack and Sydney and Beverly are discussing their options. And Sydney says, "Look, if I had a year, I could write a routine that we could get the ship back. And if Geordi, her dad, had a month, he could do it. But what we need is something that can process, X amount of routines in so many seconds. And basically, they need data." So they go to where Geordi is with his other daughter and Data. And they there's a bit of exchange, obviously, to work out if they are who they say they are. And because Geordi says, like, 6 years ago, you brought a bottle of Chateau Picard, blah blah blah, and Picard's like, "Yeah, you didn't like it because your taste is too pedestrian." And it's like, "Yeah, that's Jean-Luc." So they explain they need data to try and get the ship back. And Geordi's like, "No, it's too dangerous. If we plug him in, there's a good chance we're going to lose him, and Lore will just take over." And they just say, "Look, we're out of options. Either way, we're going to die if we don't do something." So they plug him in, and as we know, there's like a partition in the Data 2.0 brain, and one half is Lore, the other half is Data. And then we sort of see, sort of almost like in his subconscious, I guess. And we see Data, and he goes through these sort of series of memories, and he explains to Lore, because Lore's like, "What are all these trinkets? Why do you even give a crap?" And Data's like, "But your memories are the best, way of viewing how you were as a person. You know, these are what make you. And we go through a nice little series of memories. Initially, we hear like Geordie talking, but it's when they're on the holodeck and they're obviously doing the mysteries. And he's holding a deer stalker and then a pipe. He pulls up Tasha Yar's death hologram, the little statue, and obviously she's a passing message. And he keeps handing these over to Laura, and Laura's just like, that's great. Boom. Very interesting. Whatever. We then see a deck of cards and talking about obviously all the poker nights that they had and him trying to figure out Riker and could never tell when he was bluffing. And then finally we get Spot, and I had a lump in my throat when we saw Spot. And he picks up Spot and sort of says to Laura, like, and Spot taught me how to love, like in whatever capacity I was capable of it. He taught me how to do that, and Spot is the best of me. He sort of represents the best of me, and then he hands over to Laura and seems to disappear out of existence. And then we see Picard and the others looking at the monitor, and the positronic brain, just where it was blue and red, it just turns all red. And poor old Geordie, he's like, his voice just cracks again. He's like he's gone, like he's literally just watched his best friend die again. We cut back, and Laura's holding Spot, and then it's like kind of like a jolt, and then he hears, and Laura's like, oh, what's going on? And Data explains that again, goes, I gave you all these memories because they're me, that this is what makes up me, and I knew you'd want them because they're mine. You just see them as trophies. You wouldn't understand what's behind them. And it's very touching that sort of like Data gets it. Like, he had everything Law never had the opportunity to have. He had friendships. He learned to love. He had a family, and that's everything that Law resented because he never got the opportunity, because obviously he was just shut down. But by giving you all these things and you taking all these things, you're now me. You have my memories. And then Data's able to absorb Law. And again, then we see go back to the others, and then it all changes from red back to blue. And then Data's back. So while this is sort of happening, back on the bridge, he's gone to the bridge to buy them time to be able to do all this with Data. He comes in with this round ball, looks like a thermal detonator from Star Wars. He's having this interaction with Vadic, and she's sort of still going on, and about who he is and what he is and his powers, and he's just like, yeah, could you like get to the point? And this is my contact. And he goes, hey, get to the point, I'm all ears. And she's like, yes. Yeah, it is. And I'm like, what does that mean? So anyway, he convinces her to let the bridge crew off the bridge, and lock them in the ready room, because she's got him now. She doesn't need leverage. And then just as they walk off, Seven turns around and runs back. She won't leave Jack on his own. Then we hear Data. He's saying, like, pissed AI is now taking over the ship. And he's like, Jack, you're up. And it turns out not to be a bomb, it's a shit. And he gets runs over to Seven, creates the shield, and she's like, what's going on? And he's like, Data, you. And then they open the emergency escape hatch on the bridge and basically suck out Vadic and any changelings out into space. And then as soon as she hits space, she's like frozen solid. So irony there, the changeling is now solid. And she floats through space and basically hits the Shrake ship and shatters into pieces. Meanwhile, on the Shrake ship, Worf and Raffi have arrived, and Worf's able to save Riker and Troy. There's a great interaction between the three of them, and obviously now Worf's been working on himself. He's sort of much more emotional, and he's sort of gushing to Troy about how she helped him with his empathy and he can appreciate it now and how fantastic she is. Rebecca's just standing there like, wow, that's inappropriate, husband here. And Worf just keeps going. And Riker's like, is this a rescue or a continuation of the torture? And Worf's like, okay. So they go to leave, but Worf says, like, I have to show you something first. He takes them to Raffi and they find Picard's body. And they discover that they've removed parts of the brain, I think frontal lobe, where the embryonic syndrome was located. And again, why are they taking pieces of his brain? What will that help them do? They don't know. So they get on the shuttle, cloak shuttle, and make their way to the Titan. They're all aboard. They manage to take out some changelings. And then so back on the bridge, Jack's like, yep, we're done. Crew come back onto the bridge. Shaw gives the nod to Seven and they blow up the Shrake ship. We then get to have a great scene where all the original cast are around the ready room table, and there's all these lovely interactions about how they've missed each other, that it's been too long. And because like, I need you all, never a true word spoken. And again, Worf has the great lines of, he's like, yeah, I've defeated many enemies over the years and chopped their heads off, basically. And I did toy with sending you each a head, but I was told that might be passive aggressive. It's just brilliant. So we get this lovely magical scene of them all there. And then Deanna talks about how the minute she came on board, she can feel this dark presence. And it's not Jack, but it's surrounding Jack. It's in Jack. And they need to find out what it is and what's going on. So he agrees to sit with Deanna. And this is where we then see the corridor. And he's like, she goes, what's behind the door? And he goes, I don't know. And she goes, what have you never tried to open it? And he's like, no, I'm too scared. And she's like, well, I'll do it with you. And then you sort of see her joining him in his head kind of vision. And he walks up to the red door, puts his hand on the handle. End of episode. So I cannot wait for next week's episode 9, to find out what's behind this flipping door. Who's the big bad? Is it Romulans? Is it the Borg? Is it both? Is it something completely different? I don't know. I'm continuing to watch TNG and DS9 to try and figure this out. I'm determined to figure out before next week. I hope you're loving this show as much as I am. I know there's still some people that hate it, and that's cool. Each to their own, right? Each to their own. But if you're on the fence, do go check it out. It is great. Okay, I just seem to have lost my slides. Bear with me a second. Maybe this one. Cool. Let's have a little skip through. Nothing like boomerang around. Cool. Yeah. So I guess the other big newsworthy stories this week is obviously we've had Star Wars Celebration here in the UK. Don't know if you guys saw a shout out to Echo Base. And Nick had a video up yesterday of KK being announced on stage, and she walks out, and it's like tumbleweed. You can hear like a few people obviously work there going. But nobody's clapping for her. No one's cheering. It's like the person who comes on first gets this big cheer. Then it's KK, tumbleweed. Then it's like the next person comes on, whooping and cheering. It couldn't have been more obvious. And then again, as I'm about to discuss, then obviously we get the Rey announcement. It just beggars belief. It's like when you just think these studios could not be any dumber. They announced 3 films that no one's got any interest in whatsoever. Especially one with Rey And you know, I really feel for Daisy Ridley. You know, she's a good actress. She seems like a lovely person. And I think part of the reason she's doing this is that Star Wars just tanked her career. I mean, she's really barely been in anything since the trilogy. So if they're coming back waving a paycheck at her, I can't blame her for going back. You know, she she needs the work, bless her. And I really, really hope that they give her a good script. They change her character. So, I mean, my nervousness is obviously she's going to be a Jedi Master. Well, she was already perfect at everything before she even got to being Jedi Master. So can they take her off the Mary Sue pedestal? Don't know. I really hope they can. And so I hope for the fans, including myself, and I do hope that they give her a decent vehicle because she is a good actress. But I think, you know, we've all been burned so many times now. And everything Star Wars, I mean, Mando episode season 3 has been woeful. I have been covering it, but I say I'm not even covering it today because I haven't even watched the episode because I mean, I wasn't really enjoying season 3 as it was. And I've heard such bad things about the last episode, and I just haven't had time, or basically couldn't be bothered to make the time to watch it. So I'll have to suffer through 2 next week, catch up. But yeah, so, and again, in the mold of Disney, you know, we've got this Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, who has never directed a feature film. Mainly made shorts and documentaries. Now, again, probably very talented. But the fact that Disney keep giving inexperienced directors these massive vehicles, like $200+ million movies to make, and it doesn't work. Every now and again, you might land on your feet with somebody who's exceptionally talented. But even when you see like old Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Kubrick, in the early days, that stuff wasn't perfect. You know, they had to hone their craft. So again, handing over this massive vehicle, and also for these directors, the pressure on them is immense. They're being brought in because they're cheap, and the studio can push them around. Now, I guess on the plus side, you have got Stephen Knight, who obviously wrote Peaky Blinders and replaced Lindelof, thank God. But, you know, Peaky Blinders isn't Star Wars. And I think the biggest galling thing to fans, and it's just really a slap in the face, is that anybody that's read the extended universe, everybody said Heir to the Throne should have been the sequel trilogy. That's what you should have made. It's, you know, right in front of your faces, dudes, which is obviously a Luke story, and it would appear they are going to make Heir to the Throne, but with Rey instead. So why not just rub the face, you know, the fans' faces in it even more? So, you know, that story you really wanted with Luke, we're going to give it to you, but with Rey instead of Luke. Beggars belief, absolutely beggars belief. And the other 2 movies, one's the creation of the Jedi, could be interesting because you're going back so far, you really don't have a lot of baggage. And the other one is the New Republic, which I guess just sort of sits in which is the sort of Filoni universe, and Filoni's going to be directing that, and if that's as crap as Mando season 3, that's going to be an absolute bomb. So I think it's safe to say Disney are not getting the reactions that they hoped for with these announcements. I think the fans are just sick to death of, you know, we're going to make this film, we're going to make this film, we're going to make this film. Oh, no, we're not now. This writer's left, this director's left, this person's gone. We've got literally no faith in, are these films actually going to be made? How many times are the writers and directors going to be changed before we get to the end of the film? Are they going to shoot the whole thing and then decide to reshoot it all again? I don't know. I just think, yeah, we're just stated. And, you know, why KK's still there. We're just going to get more of the same. Filoni and Favreau are just gone off a cliff with first of all Boba Fett, which was woeful, and now Mando that just doesn't seem to have any direction, isn't going anywhere. What is the story to this season? Initially, it was going to be like obviously Mando redeeming himself and going to Mandalore. Well, he's done that, so now what? Who cares? Obviously, they announced. Well, we already knew, but we had a new trailer for Ahsoka, which actually does look quite good. I think out of everything that was announced, that was the only one I had any kind of interest in. But again, absolutely reserving judgment. You know, when Kenobi was announced, it was like, oh my God, this is going to be so amazing. And then look at the pilot that we got. So, yeah, hopefully Ahsoka maybe is one chink of light. If that turns out to be good, then I might have a little bit more faith in the films coming up. But yeah, I'm really, really not going to hold my breath on this one, as is anybody else. But yeah, my heart goes out to Daisy Ridley. But it wasn't her fault how her character was written. And same with like John Boyega, yeah, they had, and Oscar Isaac. Got 3 really amazing actors there and wasted all of them, all the characters. And to be fair, I mean, Oscar hitching his wagon to Disney has done nothing for his career. You know, Star Wars films, then Moon Knight. I mean, at the end of the day, it pays the bills for him, I guess. But yeah, not good. So as ever, we're going to have to watch this space and see what we get. But like I say, I hope for the fans and Daisy, you know, it's good. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, so moving on, I told you about this new show last week, School Spirits, you know, young adult drama. Maddie looks like she was killed in the first episode, and anybody killed on the school premises stays there. They get stuck. They're all ghosts. They can't interact with the living, except for Maddie can speak to her best friend Simon for some reason, but only in certain places around the school. So where somebody's died, they can interact. So obviously the veil's probably thinner there or something. And we've kind of got the storyline of you know, who killed Maddie and why, and also the other school spirits are trying to move on, you know, cross over. And we've got characters from the 60s, the 80s, the 90s now, because, you know, and 70s, you know, they've been there a long time. So at the end of last week's episode, after the homecoming game, we saw Maddie's best friend, Nicole, digging up or burying something. It looks very, very suspicious. In this episode, she continues to be even more suspicious. We find out that she was the one that made the video of Claire blackmailing the teacher, Miss Anderson, who stole the money. And she's putting a portfolio together. So Simon and Maddie were going to Chicago to go to a certain university, to do film studies because they wanted to make horror films together. And Nicole was like photography, and she was going to go to a different school in Chicago, but she needs a scholarship. Simon's with her, and they're kind of going through her portfolio, and she's acting really shady. And he just finds a whole page which is just all different photos of like Maddie, like sort of stalkerish. And we end up seeing some flashbacks with the 3 of them together. And you can just sort of see that Nicole kind of sort of unhealthily kind of idolizes Maddie. And Simon just sort of picks up like, well, you know, when Maddie became pescatarian, you became pescatarian. When Maddie like this, you like this. When Maddie, you know, bought a spider ring, you got a spider ring, and you don't even like spiders. And she's like obviously getting upset by this and going like, you know, you're wrong, or so what? So what? So we like the same things. Why is it such a big deal? And Maddie's like, yeah, but he's right. You know, you do seem to, you know, copy everything I do in a nice way, you know. And obviously Nicole gets really upset about this and walks off. And over the course of the episode, you know, Simon starts saying to Maddie, look, she's behaving really suspiciously. I found all of this. Looks like she made the video. And Maddie's gone to the computer room and is trying to delete any proof that she sent, or that she has this video or sent this video. And Simon and Maddie catch her doing this. And Simon's like, what the hell, you know? And she swears that she didn't kill Maddie, but she did take the money. And he's like, why did you take the money? Because she's just like, well, I wanted to come to Chicago with you both. And I need it for that. And he's like, well, what about your scholarship? And she's like, well, I've been rejected by both of the colleges. They say I haven't got snowflake's chance in hell to get the scholarship. I'm just not good enough. So I saw a chance to take the money so I could come with you. But I swear I didn't hurt Maddie. So her and Simon go to dig up the money. When they get there, the money's gone and there's someone watching them. And Maddie can see them and she's calling to them. There's someone behind them. But because it's not in one of the right spots, Simon can't hear her. And Maddie starts to get a bit of a flashback to her mother. And obviously her mother was a drunk, and it's like so this argument's happening, and Maddie then sort of, the other ghosts sort of catch up to Maddie, and she's obviously upset, and they're like, what's going on? What's happening? And Maddie's like, I think my mum might have killed me. And that's where the episode ends. Also within the episode, we've got some more backstory with like one of the other ghosts from the 70s, and she was being picked on, and she basically got electrocuted. And all the lights start going on and off, and there's this really, really big flash of light, and all the ghosts are like, what is that? What's happening? And they're like, oh, there's such and such moved on. They're like, yeah, but that didn't happen last time. So there's something a bit creepy going on in the school with the ghosts. And the teacher who's sort of been their mentor and looking after them and trying to help them move on, he's acting a bit strange and quite rude to Rhonda, the girl from the 60s. So he seems to be acting a bit suspiciously. But yeah, I'm still really enjoying this. Like I say, it's quite like hard. It's teen drama, but actually how it unfolds each week and how we're seeing more about, you know, who may have killed Maddie, what secrets have we got, the backstories of the ghosts. It's just an easy watch. It's just a fun, easy watch. There's quite a bit of humor in there. So I'm really enjoying it. Drops on a Friday on Paramount Plus. So if you just want something a bit light-hearted to watch, you know, switch your brain off, watch some TV, I highly recommend this show. And lastly, dropped this week, the film Tetris on Apple. As you can see, starring Taron Egerton. Really wasn't sure what I was going to get with this. So, as it says, it's the story of Tetris and how Tetris came from Russia to the States. Obviously, Taron plays the sort of lead in this. It's based on a true story. And I have to say, like, I don't know how much artistic license was in this, but if this is literally what happened, it's like, oh, the absolute romp. It's brilliant. It's sort of, again, almost like spy drama meets it's just brilliant. I absolutely loved it. And again, if you're a classic games person, if you're into your Tetris, your Nintendo, your Mario, you will absolutely love this. It is a lot of nostalgia, some great stuff. And say it's all about obviously, so this is obviously pre the Berlin Wall falling. I think it starts in 88, I think. Taron's character is a fair, and someone shows him Tetris, and he sort of plays it for 5 minutes and is just like, this is going to sell like hotcakes. You know, you don't have to be good at games to be able to play this. And then it's all trying to track down who has the rights to Tetris, who invented it. And then we see obviously it's this guy who works for the Russian government. You know, he's just a computer programmer. He sort of created it in his spare time. And then there's like a liaison that works with the Russian government, who's then there to sell the rights. And initially they sell it to Nintendo in Japan. They have like sort of arcade rights and computer rights, and but then it's much more complicated than that. And then we have the Maxwells come into play, and the guys playing the Maxwells are absolutely great. They do not come across well, and it's absolutely brilliant. So you've kind of got these different. So you got the Maxwells. So initially, Taran goes to the Maxwells and saying, we need to get the rights to this, and then if we do this, we can sell it worldwide. We've already got it in Japan. He then he manages to blag his way into Nintendo, and they show him the Game Boy, and he's like, right, if we can get the rights to the handheld, don't package it with Super Mario Brothers, package it with Tetris. And then it's this whole saga of him then going to Russia, trying to get the deal signed. You then got the Maxwells who are trying to shaft him. You've then got the Russian guy who's ripping off the Maxwell. So you've got these sort of different three parties all vying to try and get the rights. Obviously, this is so Gorbachev is in power. We're coming towards the end of the Soviet Union, but it's still like the KGB are there. So they want to know why he's an American. He's come through on a tourist visa because it takes too long to get a business visa. And then he's going to his government agency. So he gets the crap beaten out of him by the KGB. They threaten his family. And then the poor guy who invented it kind of gets swept up in all of this, and they try to destroy him. And he's like basically not done anything other than invent the game. And they come after him. And obviously we know that eventually they do obviously get the rights to Tetris because we have Tetris, but even still, there's still that kind of, jeopardy of like, how's he going to get out of Russia? Is he going to be okay? What happens to this guy's family? It was done so well. It's loads of fun. Sort of great. Say almost like spies without being spies, and the way they portray the Maxwells. And let's say just great bit of nostalgia, looking at the old Nintendo consoles and talking about Zelda and Super Mario. So if that's your shtick, I think you'll absolutely love this. I love Taron Egerton in pretty much anything he's been in. He's a great actor. And obviously it's based on a true story. And we sort of find out at the end what happened to everybody. But I loved it. Absolutely great watch. Really, really good fun. And like I say, if everything that happened is true, it's like, blooming hell. This guy's got balls of steel. But I say, I'm sure there's a little bit of artistic license in there, but at the same time, it was really dangerous going to the Soviet Union at that point. So I well believe the dodgy shenanigans going on. So yeah, so Tetris on Apple. Another great film from Apple. I think it's also saying, as it says there, some selected cinemas. But yeah, if you get the chance, I don't know if Apple are doing a free subscription right now or a trial, but I highly recommend this. Apple doesn't have a massive amount of content, but there's some really good stuff on there. As you know, if you've watched this channel, I love Ted Lasso. We're in the third and final season at the moment. That's great. Severance is amazing. We're waiting for season 2 to drop from Ben Stiller. For All Mankind, another one of my favorites. We're due another season, hopefully this year or next year. There's some absolute gems on there. So I do say not a massive amount of content, but what's on there generally is quite good from Apple. Slow Horses with Gary Oldman. Another absolute smash. 2 seasons of that. We've got another season been renewed. So yeah, it's definitely worth checking out Apple if you can. So I think that is it for this week. So a little bit longer than I envisaged. I'm now running up against the clock as always. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Love to know your thoughts on the shows that I'm reviewing. What do you think of Rabbit Hole? Do you think it's going to go somewhere? I'm massively intrigued to see what this plot is and how it all plays out. But a light-hearted fun with School Spirits, and of course my Picard season 3. So as ever, do leave me some comments. Let me know what you're thinking. Is there something out there you want me to review? And obviously for algorithm, do like and share and subscribe. Great to have you on the channel. So anyway, that's it. Have a great rest of your bank holiday. Don't eat too much chocolate. Have fun. Have a great week. And I'll see you back next week, Friday, with my Picard review, bit of Sunday lunch, and I might try and do something in the week. I might also, just chatting with Dan at the moment, we're maybe rustling something up for tomorrow on Monday. We'll see. But anyway, I will see you soon. Take care.